Now we've got some live questions coming at us. George, I don't know where George is from, but George asks, how can high-speed rail create jobs? Well, there's a number of ways that high-speed rail can create jobs. In the short term, obviously it's going to take thousands of individuals to build this line. These are not jobs that are going to last for 20 or 30 years, but in the next 3 or 4 years, many people will be put to work to build this high-speed rail line between Milwaukee and Madison. I think people should also recognize that when we talk about this high-speed rail line between Milwaukee and Madison, this is not the end of the vision. This is all part of a bipartisan vision that was created over 10 years ago by Democratic and Republican governors to tie together the whole upper Midwest region. And this is an important leg in this, but it's not the only leg in this. And so it also means economic growth, because the goal is to tie these 6 or 7 Midwest states together, and in doing that, create more economic growth, more economic activity. So you're certainly going to see some construction jobs. You're going to see economic development that is going to occur as a result of this. And I think tying the economies of the 2 largest cities in the state together is something important. I think it's somewhat ironic, and just this morning as I was leaving church, I had a couple of people talk to me about this issue, and it's one that's garnered a lot of attention in the last week. And one of the gentlemen that stopped me as I was leaving church said that he is just completing a book on the transcontinental railroad, and he said, you know, it was amazing that this country continued to work on the completion of the transcontinental railroad even during the Civil War, because the recognition was there that you had to build for the future. The same can be said in the 1950s and the 1960s. And in the 1950s, under President Eisenhower, he had a vision to tie the different states together and make our economies run closer together. This is the same concept. It's looking to the future. It's what can we do to create jobs, to have more economic activity. And I think we have to understand that we're not living in a static world. And what I mean by that is, right now, people might say, well, the price of gasoline is not so expensive that we can't do this. But this conversation would have been much different 3 years ago when gasoline was running at $4 to $5 a gallon. Now it's a little bit lower, but it's still 70 cents higher than it was a year ago at this time. And I think we also have to bear in mind that if you look at the world economy, which right now is obviously at a low ebb, the challenge we have is when the economy comes back, countries like China and India and Russia and Brazil are now competing with us in terms of oil usage. And that gives a lot more market power to the producers of oil, and they will be in a position to raise the price of oil. So I want to look to the future. I know that there's some who say, let's not look to the future, but I think it would be a mistake, just as I think it would have been a mistake in the 1950s for the governor of the state of Wisconsin to turn his back on the interstate highway system. So I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to do this. I think it's important for us to do this. And I think, again, you're starting to see some bipartisan support. You've got the Republican mayors of both Watertown and Oconomowoc who are supportive of this. People recognize that this is to create jobs and to really promote economic activity throughout the state of Wisconsin.